All right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of SideQuest Podcast. Listen in and level up. I have a great episode for you today, but first, as always, let's get through the show notes. If you're not following the Facebook page, head over to Facebook, type SideQuest Fitness into the search bar, and like the page. There, you're going to get updates on podcast episodes, articles when they get posted, and you're going to get a brand new taco recipe every Tuesday for taco camp. Plus lots of other shenanigans and nerd talk throughout the week, so make sure you head over to Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. My handle is SideQuestFM. If you want to see some cool videos and random stuff on Instagram as well, you can follow me on Instagram, same handle, SideQuestFM, or follow me on Snapchat, SideQuestFit. Follow me there. Send me your questions. I want to get all the questions from you, help you as much as I can on your fitness journey or your journey in life, whatever it may be. But head over to Snapchat, SideQuestFit. Follow me there. You get a little more personal, in-depth look at the shenanigans I get into throughout every day. But I do love getting questions from the community, so please send them out to me. If you have not left a review for the podcast, please head over to iTunes. If you're not listening on iTunes and you listen on SoundCloud or Stitcher, leave a review there as well. When you leave reviews, it helps me move up the charts on the iTunes store so that more people can see and hear the amazing guests that I've had on and have on each and every single week. So make sure you head over there. And don't forget, if you haven't picked up your copy of the 7 Principles of Fat Loss, head over to sidequestfitness.com/7 principles, and you can pick up your copy of the 7 Principles of Fat Loss. These are the same 7 principles I follow each and every day and teach my clients to help them shred away more body fat, unlock heroic strength, and just look better naked. So if you want to unlock strength or just look better naked in the mirror, head over again, grab those 7 principles of fat loss, and start following those today. All right, guys, I have a great episode for you today. Joining me is an inventor that you have probably used his invention sometime at the gym, if not sometime in your life. Don Brown, the inventor of the ab roller, joins me on the podcast to talk about his brand new invention that he's created to gamify planks, to make planks less boring, more fun, more engaging, so that you enjoy doing them. His device is called Stealth. And you get into a plank position and then you play a game while in that position and moving the stealth around. It's a really, really cool device. You can check this out on Indiegogo. I'll have all the links for you over at sidequestfitness.com. Click on podcast and head over and find those links. Sidequestfitness.com or sidequestfitness.com/podcast and look for the episode with Don Brown. This is a great episode. Don and I talk a lot about entrepreneurship and inventing, where he got his ideas, how he developed the idea for the ab roller. It came to him while playing around with a paperclip. How many times have you ever sat in class or at work and played with a paperclip and just made little art? The entire idea and functionality of the original ab roller came from him just playing around with a paperclip. This is a great episode. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So enjoy this episode with Don, get to know a little bit more about Stealth, and you can head over to Indiegogo.com, go up to search and hit Stealth, type Stealth in, and you can find out more about the device that he is creating. I have a video as well. You can get sidequestfitness.com/podcast, head over to the Don Brown episode, and you can check it out. This is a great episode. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So I'm going to shut up and let's get into it.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records and with the help of the guests you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.
All right, guys, welcome to the episode. I have a fantastic guest for you today. He is a legend in the fitness industry. He is an entrepreneur who has owned gyms and has created some of the most iconic exercise or pieces of exercise equipment in the world, including the ab roller, which I know for a fact I had as a kid in my house and used countless times when I was like 7 or 8, trying to compete with my sister and who could do more. But the one and the only Don Brown, he has a brand new device that I heard about, and someone in his company reached out to me, and I was like, I got to get him on the show because it involves playing video games while you work on your abs. So, Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Robbie. This is awesome.
So we were chatting a little beforehand about sort of the future of where we sort of see fitness going with technology and whatnot. But for people who may not know about you, like I said, you invented the ab roller. Most people are like, oh, I remember that thing. I probably played with it, or their gym might still have one, or their grandma has one in their basement. Give them a little background on sort of how you got into the industry and why you decided to start designing fitness equipment.
Sure. Well, let's go back a little bit here. When you say grandma, you're dating me, but I'm going to be 50. Well, I'm 57 now, still working out like a nut. But back in 1986, I made the leap from my day job, which was a meat cutter. Right? I was a meat cutter in a supermarket out of high school, and I used to watch Jack LaLanne. Maybe you don't know who he is, but he's an icon. But a lot of the younger people, I'm amazed, don't know who he is. But Jack LaLanne was my idol at 10 years old. My mother used to watch him on television, and I would, just do the workouts. Love the whole idea of being fit and healthy, and being that guy on the beach that doesn't get sand kicked in his face. And and that was my the passion and energy that got me to love fitness. So one day when we were my meat cutting job, we were on strike, and I had to get a part-time job. And I went to a local Jack LaLanne fitness center, believe it or not, and they hired me, and that's where it all began. That was in 1982. I worked part-time at a gym, and I was loving it. Working 8 hours at my regular job as a meat cutter in a supermarket, and then I would leave there at 4 or 5 in the afternoon and work till 10 at night. Making $2.30 an hour, teaching people Nautilus fitness. Yeah, and that's where it all began. Back then. Then the strike ended, and I kept that part-time job. And then one day I got a call they were going out of business. Jack LaLanne was closing its doors, and I decided I'm going to go for it and follow my passion, quit my job, and took over a failed health club. And 20 years later, 3 health clubs, I did quite well with that. But it was during that time, you talk about inventing fitness products, that I had an idea, and it was really a solution to a problem. As you well know, training clients, I had a client who had a neck injury in an automobile accident, and they couldn't do sit-ups or crunches because just putting stress behind their neck or trying to support their head was painful. So I was sitting at my desk. I bent a paper clip in the shape of a little rocking chair, and went to Home Depot, bought a pipe and bent it again. Came back to my office with some duct tape and foam and got down on the floor, and it worked perfectly. Then I started showing people, and everybody wanted one. It was like, wow, this could be big. And that's how it all began. It was solving a problem. One of my clients had a problem, just like, all you trainers out there know that. You get a client, they're struggling with whatever, and you try to help them, and good things come out of it, So that's how it started. And I was, watching Tony Little. I don't know if you remember him, the ponytail guy. Yep. He was on TV selling something called the ab isolator, which was like this strap on your knees and your feet. And I was like, maybe it works, but it definitely doesn't do what my ab roller did. So I said, maybe I can do a TV infomercial. Yeah. And that was it. I went through, figured we had no internet back then, so it was like my first video I shot was a VHS giant camera, packaged it up, sent it to Nordic Track, was like the leading fitness TV infomercials back then. Yeah. And that's where it all began. They called me, and dozens of other people called me wanting this really cool product.
And what's crazy about that is it all came from a paperclip. So I've seen the video of you on MSNBC and them sort of talking about it, and you just sort of bent it back, and it just sort of worked, and it clicked. And it's so crazy that like that small little thing, because so many people today, I was reading something about, how everyone is so into their phones that we don't pay attention to those little things anymore. But it's that little thing that you would never expect, which sparked that innovation for you. So to anyone listening, pay attention to the world around you and not your phone so much, because there might be some innovation that happens from a small little moment.
That's definitely, that started a lesson in life that, you can't buy. Because I learned so much from creating a product that people really wanted, showing it to the world, which I shouldn't have done in a big fitness trade show, was knocked off and copied by the most, vicious knockoff artists in the world. Spent years suing people for patent infringement. It was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
But, now you learn that's almost like a compliment. When you have a great idea, you're going to get copied. The magic is to be first out, best dressed, and really focus on marketing. But yeah, I learned a lot about the whole innovation process, and it's kind of where we are today. When we're talking, this whole interview is obviously about the latest product that I've launched. But I don't know if you know, I also invented a product called the Ab Coaster. Did you look at that product?
Yeah.
That's another great one. A couple years later, solving another problem. The hanging leg race. That was a big problem. Most people can't do it, but as you well know, it's one of the best core exercises.
Yep.
But 90% of the world can't hang from a bar, so we created that product as well. And again, same thing. Everyone wanted one, and knew a little bit more of what we were doing, so we had a great run with that. And that product's still now, every Planet Fitness, every other health club, pretty much in the U.S. Probably has an ab coaster today. So it's been fun.
Yeah. I never realized until, sort of diving into the stuff you've done and others, like where some of these products that I remember using as like a kid, like my aunt would have them, or grandmother, like, first gyms that I got into that just had the most basic things would have those things. And sort of diving into this, before the interview, I was like, wow, I didn't realize where this all just come from. I thought like, just some company made it. No, it was one dude with an idea and everyone else sort of jumped in, off of his. But you have a brand new product that you're putting out called Stealth, and you actually use your phone to play video games to train your core while you're doing it. And for me, that's huge because I'm a giant gamer. Most of my listeners are huge nerds and geeks and video gamers as well. So have games always been something that has drawn your attention? Have you been a gamer in your life?
I have to say no, except for one game. And this is way back, called Doom.
Yep.
Remember Doom? Is that still around today?
Oh, Doom, they redid it last year and made a brand new version of it. Unfortunately, I haven't really got to play many video games because I'm playing a video game called Entrepreneurial, which means that most of my money goes back into my business. So that's where my
heard of that game. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's where my XP goes instead of into a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Doom is actually still one of the quintessential games that changed video games when it was released.
That's funny. I mean, I got into it just because I was going through all these lawsuits when people were copying my ab roll, and I was stressed out. So I started playing this game, Doom, and it was pretty addictive. But other than that, just like you, being an entrepreneur, I hardly watch TV unless it's TED Talks or a really exciting movie or show that I watch with my daughter once in a while. But other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of time I feel guilty if I'm playing games when I know I can be helping other people or sharing information or creating some, the next cool product,
Yeah, same here. So when the idea came to you, I know a partner came and brought the idea to you. What about it made you go, yes, I want to do this. I love this idea.
What I loved about it, he's always admired me. This friend of mine, Howie, he's been in the fitness business and other business as well. But he's always admired what I've done with the ab roller. And when the concept there was to take the sit up or crunch, which, millions of people all over the world are familiar with that exercise.
Right.
And let's productize it. So he came to me and said, I love doing planks. Planks are so popular. People do planks. And I've never been a plank guy, right? I hardly ever do planks. Yeah. And I've always, been addicted to the crunch or the ab coaster because products I developed. So he shared with me the plank. I did some research. I'm like, this is a great exercise. It's safe. And then it has one problem. It's boring.
Right.
You're boring. I mean, there's the problem. So what's the solution? How can we make it so it's not boring? So, we looked at the wobble boards and what people have done on, Swiss balls and Bozu type stuff where they, make it a little more unstable. So we started to think about it. So why don't we turn it into a dynamic plank and let's make it fun? So we were just goofing around and I pulled up a maze game on a phone, threw it down. I cut a piece of plywood in the shape of what the Stealth looked like today, that trapezoid shape. Yeah. And we took a dog toy, which was a plastic ball, cut it in half, screwed it to the bottom, to mimic sort of a wobble board. Right. And threw a game on just to see. And it was like you were so focused on trying to, win the game. You didn't realize your core is on fire, Where if I do a traditional plank, I'm just staring at my phone, just freaking out, like another minute. And you don't want to look away, but here you're focused on, playing this game. So we took it to a whole nother level and wanted to design a way that you could smoothly, because a wobble board, as you know, is pretty unstable. And we wanted to make it smooth. So we created this whole ball and socket concept. And it works great because you can lock in at any angle. And so you're basically maintaining we'll call it a static plank, but you're dynamically, moving around into different angles and positions. So you're actually forcing your brain and body to, reconnect all the muscles, in a different angle, which is kind of cool because it takes the standard plank, into a whole new workout. So, that's really how it all started. It was take a boring exercise, which is really great for people, and make it fun so everyone will do it and make it more effective. And that's what we're doing right now. We're really fine tuning the effectiveness of it by, the way we're designing some of these games is to, a couple different things. We've come up with this whole idea of a core score. We're creating a little game where you can determine your core score, how strong you are. We're hoping to get lots of norms. You can have different age groups and people, so we eventually will be able to get on the Stealth Core Trainer and determine your core strength, because in my opinion, that's probably the most important thing. If you have a strong core, chances are you don't have a big belly. Chances are you won't have back problems. Chances are you'll have good posture, and chances are you're pretty healthy, more so than what a scale would say, right? You weigh yourself in the scale, you know that well, right? You can be a muscular linebacker at 240, or you can be the most unfit human on the planet. So weight doesn't tell you anything. But what we've learned so far, you put somebody who's totally out of shape with a big belly on the Stealth Core Trainer, 30 seconds to a minute, they're done. They can barely do it. Why? Because they're out of shape. So that's what we're doing. We're really trying to use that standard exercise as a starting point for anyone looking to get in shape. If you have 3 minutes or less during your day, you can sneak in fitness, and that's the whole idea behind stealth. It's sneaking things under the radar when you're not really realizing you're doing it. And that's it's funny because the product looks like the shape of a stealth aircraft. Yeah. But it's also, it fits the metaphor well that we're sneaking fitness in and making it fun.
That's one of my big things that people ask me all the time. Hey man, I don't have time. What can I do? And I'm like, listen, all those sets, like you think, okay, 3 sets of 10 reps of bodyweight squats, break them up. Like you could do those 3 sets in 2 minutes. And then the rest of it, you could do 2 other minutes throughout the day. Like break it up throughout the day, do 30 seconds. And I love that that's sort of what you're doing with stealth, is sneak it in. Because if you can sneak it in, you can still get the results, that you want. You can be more active. You can have a better core. And planks are my favorite. I love using them with my clients, and all the variations. And I love that you mentioned the core score of the game, because one of my questions was, in the video, and I'll have the video linked in the show notes so more people can see what stealth is and what you guys are doing with it. Choosing your game. So you talked about core score. Are there other games that you can sort of talk about right now that are designed to target and strengthen your core?
Well, the game we're releasing, you see in the video, and that's just a rough mock-up. I mean, what you're looking at in the prototypes, right? Those are $4,000 machined prototypes, right? Because the tooling is very expensive, and we wanted to make them perfect to really prove the concept, and the whole idea of Kickstarters to validate and see what people want and get feedback. So we've gotten a lot of feedback from some real gamers out there, some game developers even, and so. As far as what we're doing initially, everyone who has pre-ordered the Stealth will receive what we call the Core Challenge. And the Core Challenge is a very simple game, but it's progressive. So it's going to be the sort of that orange dot circle, which is going to challenge you to move different angles, forward, back, as well as doing a core twist. And then it progressively increases up to a 3-minute point. So you'll have to hold each position from as little as a second to 3 seconds. And then eventually, if you hit the 3-minute mark, we consider that pretty darn good. You got a pretty strong core. Then it'll repeat. So your core score will keep going up, and so will your time. So if you're a real competitive person, you want to set a personal best, we'll have a leaderboard as well. So that game you see right now will be much better than it is. As far as visually, we're working now with a really great app development team to make some really cool graphics. But that'll be the starting game. Then from there, this whole idea of the core score, which you'll get a core score now, but we want to use it more as a way to evaluate core strength. So we're going to develop another game, or sort of a testing app or whatever you would download off of our main app. And you can basically rate yourself against other people in your age groups and so forth, where you'll be able to, get a score. You might have you do a very specific series of movements, and then you go back a couple days or weeks later and see if you've improved. So that idea is the second version, is to develop the score model. That's a consistent game where you can measure and improve. And then from there, we got some really cool, fun stuff where, if you can picture yourself flying on the stealth through space, through rings floating, in the sky. So there's like a series of rings, and basically we're modeling after some of these, what do you call them? The pilot. There's a bunch of apps for pilots where they're up in the, flying in the sky, and all of a sudden they have a problem. A series of rings will appear on this one app that I saw, and kind of where I got the idea. And then you fly through the rings, it'll bring you to the nearest airport. So basically we're setting up these floating rings through the sky, and we got all these different fun things, core of duty, right? One guy was saying, you should do core of duty. And we're like, all right, whatever, blowing up fat cells. So, the creativity is huge.
Right.
And we're listening to our backers. We're listening to, people like yourself who love gaming and love fitness. And we're open to developing, whatever people want to use, because to me, it's all about giving people what they, really want and they're going to use, and making it fun, challenging, and exciting. But to be clear, what we don't want to lose is the fact that getting a great core workout is top priority. Right. So every movement, everything that happens, whether you're blowing stuff up or flying through the sky, you're basically shifting positions and causing your body to use, core muscles in different angles at different times. Right. So that's what we're doing.
I love that. And you mentioned that it's on Kickstarter. And one of the questions I had that I wanted to ask you is, when you first started, you created the ab roller, you went to Home Depot, you bought some pipe and some foam, like you created the whole thing, and then people loved it. But you sort of had to find your own backers then. But now you have like crowdsourcing websites like Kickstarter. How does a crowdsourcing website like Kickstarter offer a creative like yourself? What does it offer you that you didn't have in the past?
It is the most incredible thing in the world. And I've spent the last 2.5 years since it really started studying it, because I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it right the first time. And I wanted to have a successful campaign, which we are. I think we're over 300,000 right now. Yeah. So it's done very well for our first, try at this. But crowdfunding, what it does is to the average entrepreneur, inventor, or product developer, it allows you the ability to raise all the money you need and validate your idea. So you may have the stupidest idea in the world, which most inventors do. They have dumb ideas, or they have lousy marketing. And what happens is they'll go out and they'll spend their entire life savings. They'll end up with a garage full of gizmos that nobody wants to buy. And it's sad. And I've coached a lot of inventors, and unfortunately, usually by the time they come to me, they're already broke because they've spent their life savings on an idea they believed was a great idea. So Kickstarter or crowdfunding, Indiegogo and Tilt, allow you to throw something out there and shoot a simple video, make it one prototype, shoot a video, get it out there and validate it. Now, like you said, when you go out there, which I learned, you want to succeed in this crowdfunding world, you have to stand out. Right. So you have to have a great video, you have to have a good prototype, and you also have to have a list of people that are willing to jump in as soon as you go live on these platforms. If you don't have a list, your product is going to be buried with the 4,500 other products that are on a Kickstarter platform every day. So if you can get that early surge and get media and bloggers like yourself to interview and talk about your project early on, boost you on the platform. So the magic is that there are 3 million people in the world right now, roughly, that understand what crowdfunding is, right? Yeah. They understand that it's a place where you're going to pre-order a product and you may not get it. That person might totally take the money and run, right? There's no protection. So the average American who buys stuff online, they don't understand that. Right. So you need to get to those people, and you get to those people early on by having a quick boost so you're up in the top, 1-200, because those people are always looking for the cool new gizmos that are coming out. Yeah. So it's funny, like our backers, I think we're over 1,600, and I would bet you about 12 to 1,500 of them are people who backed previous projects on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
They're not like new fitness people who love gaming. These are people who love stuff on Kickstarter and happen to like fitness and gaming. So that's the big difference. Like that took me a while to wrap my mind around that. But again, I went to young 25-year-olds who I saw succeed on crowdfunding and got on the phone with them and had them help me understand this market. This is how you do it. This is how you raise, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's been a fun ride. It's been pretty exciting.
I'm sure it's a whole new world for you because it is something a lot of people don't sort of understand because the sort of traditional way of doing things is kind of, it's slowly breaking down. Like the internet is changing a lot of that, and I can only imagine what it's going to do in the next 5 or 10 years. How all of that's going to change.
Remember the old model? We did the TV infomercial, right? That's what made the ab roller so successful, as well as the ab coaster. And to do a TV infomercial, you're talking about spending $100,000 to $300,000, right? Licensing your product to a company who's going to put up all that money. So you're going to end up getting a 5%, 3% royalty. And they're going to go out and spend hundreds of thousands to produce a big commercial. Then they test it. And if it doesn't work, they throw it away.
Right.
If people don't call an order. Crowdfunding, you can do a couple little Facebook ads, spend $200 to $300, drive people to the video before you go on the crowdfunding page. You can drive people to a fake website and see if they hit the buy now button or learn more. And that'll validate, and you'll learn a lot. So, the internet and these crowdfunding platforms just make the process of introducing the world to a concept a whole lot easier. And at the same time, you get some early sales and all the cash you need without giving up ownership in your company.
Right. Yeah. Which is huge for any entrepreneur. I know my my mother-in-law was like, "I'll give you some money if you need it." I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks though. Because you already keep asking me about grandbabies. I don't need you asking me about money either."
It's funny.
All right, so let's go to a couple of fun questions. The first one I gotta know, Don, is you are an inventor who comes up with ideas and you see problems and you think about things. And as you said, sometimes people come to you and they think they have the best idea in the world. They think it. No one else thinks it, but they think it. What's the craziest device that you've come up with that didn't work outside of your own head?
All right. I had an idea once. I had gotten a massage at a spa, and I was intrigued by those stone massages, those river rocks, hot stones.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, I noticed the girl liked certain size stones, right? When she was massaging me, she had these certain size rocks. And I talked to her about it. She, some of them are great because they're all different sizes.
Right.
So I had this idea that I could hand carve soapstone, which is the best stone in the world because it's non-porous, right? It doesn't absorb liquids or skins, and it has great thermal properties. So if you heat up soapstone, it stays warm for so much longer than these river rocks, right?
Right.
So I went, this is when the internet just started, right? I went online, soapstone, found some guy in India who still emails me today. It's like 15 years later. Every Christmas sends me a Christmas card. And I bought like $40,000 worth of these hand-carved stones with this little pressure point. And we called it lava ice. Now, I'm not going to say it was a total failure because we did sell a bunch. But the downside is with lava ice is we had it where you could say you could heat the stone or you could freeze it. And it's basically ice that doesn't melt. So I still have some today. And it's funny, my daughter and her soccer team, the kids love it. I hand them this perfectly carved stone that weighs about 2 pounds, and it's frozen. And like, what is it? I said, well, it's lava ice. It's ice that doesn't melt. And it's still exciting, but it's hard to sell something like that on an infomercial because you can't feel it. You can't experience it, So anyway, that was probably one of the craziest things I did, to have, $40,000 worth of stones floating on the water in a container and coming over here. But we ended up selling quite a few through demonstration, through those mall carts and kiosks that you see. So that was probably one of my craziest, and I can't say it was a total failure. But I've seen a lot of failures from other people, that have come to me and brought some ideas. But my own, I've always done the analysis, before I jump. I say, is there an established category? Are people using something similar? Will people understand what this is? Yeah. That was the magic of the ab roller, right? I knew people knew how to do sit-ups and crunches. Right. And I knew they pulled on the back of their head and they would just do neck ups. So I could eliminate that yanking, I had a crowd that instantly understood my product. So that's one of the big rules, that I share with everybody is anything you come up with, any concept, product, new exercise you want to teach somebody, if you can base it or let's say link it to something they already understand, it's easier to sell. It's like trying to, you would know, cassette tapes and DVDs.
Oh, yep.
Okay. And 8-tracks way back. If you had an 8-track player and someone came and you said, hey, I got this little thing called a MP3 player, you'd be like, what the heck? You need millions of dollars, right, to eventually educate the world on this new technology. So I've always focused on, creating products that people can instantly understand based on something they already know. And that to me is, prevents me from doing too crazy things that I lose a lot of money. But I've done my share, that's for sure.
I got you. I think that's a very important thing for anyone listening. I have some fitness professionals who listen as well. And, sort of getting in and creating your own product is something that everyone sort of does, but you got to make sure that it's something people want. And not every idea is the best idea in the world. I know that just from life in general. Don,
Yep.
What store would you max your credit card out at?
Apple. Definitely an Apple store because technology is abundant. And every time I go in there's so many cool things, and that would probably be the max out. I mean, other than that, I love the outdoors, all the skiing and hiking, and I thought of, other stores like that. But to me, Apple, because of the price of the products and the amount of them from, crazy cams that you could watch every room in your house to thermostats and drones. I mean, that would probably do it,
All right.
instantly.
All right. Where would you go in a time machine? If you could go anywhere, where would you go?
I'd probably want to show up in Thomas Edison's laboratory.
I like that answer.
In Menlo Park, when he's coming in the morning or sleeping, like they said, at night, and just to see that crazy man, cranking out new products and innovations with the world, that would probably be pretty exciting.
Okay. All right. So you're an Edison guy, not a Tesla guy?
Well, it's funny. I love Tesla. Don't get me wrong. And I love what Elon Musk has done with that brand, that concept, Yeah. So, but hey, they're both tied together, let's face it.
They are.
Tesla.
They are, yeah.
I mean, I've seen, what was the pictures of Tesla, Edison, Ford. I mean, you take some of the most innovative guys in the world, and there's been photos of these guys together. So, they would probably have been in the laboratory at the same time.
Yeah. Inventing and
that would have been it. Go back in time and be in a meeting when some of the top innovators were all collaborating. Now that would be a exciting thing.
It would be exciting because you wonder how many of those ideas that some of them said, they're like, I had this idea and it's really dumb. And the next thing you know, Edison's like, but I did it. And then like Edison gets famous, or like Tesla, like everyone's like, no, Nikola, this this electrical rod thing you're thinking about, that's silly. It's not gonna work, or Ford, this car thing is really dumb. Like why would you want to do that? And
exactly.
The next thing we know, it changes. It's
everything. Like the story, and I don't know how true it is, of the old guys all sitting together and having a conversation. One says, I have a great idea. What is it? He goes, let's put water in a bottle and sell it. And everyone laughed at him. Are you an idiot? You just go get a glass over there at the sink.
Yeah.
So, you never know.
Some guy did that. Like I remember when like bottled water was coming out, sort of getting bigger in the 90s, and my parents being like, this is the craziest thing in the world. Like, can't you just take a glass? Like, but we're buying bottles of water. It's,
and there's a mindset now. You think it's better for you. My daughter, I mean, she won't drink anything unless it's bottled water. Yeah. Like what's coming out of the tap is bad.
My dad works at a water treatment plant. I'm like, listen, trust me, I know how that water is treated. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're good. What's the last new thing you've tried?
When you just say thing, I did try yoga.
You did try yoga?
Yep, I did. I want to get into it, and I was really getting good. Not like super flexible, like a pretzel. But I understood the movements. I felt great afterwards. But I had a problem with my shoulder. I did one of these table flips because, my ego got in the way and I wanted to be able to do what the girl in front of me was doing. So anyway, I kind of strained my shoulder, and it's just been a little weak. But yeah, I want to get back into it. But yoga to me is great because it makes me relax, calms my mind, and it help, especially, as you get older, maintaining flexibility, I think is pretty cool. But yeah, that was my thing. The other thing, part of yoga is called Intrinity. I don't know if you've heard of that or tried it. Have you heard of Intrinity?
No, I used to do yoga like every morning before my theater class in high school. Like, I think it was a way for my teacher to like calm us down and make sure we weren't going to be crazy and rambunctious like first thing in the morning when we drink coffee. So we like all did this little yoga stretch routine. It took like 5 minutes. And then I stopped when I realized that I could sleep in college. And I was like, oh, I can just sleep in and then walk to class with like 7 minutes before. Cool.
That's funny.
So yeah, I haven't done yoga since then. But what is this?
Intrinity.
Okay.
You ever hear of spinning?
Yes.
Okay. So the guy that created spinning, Johnny G, a great guy. I think he's from South Africa, neat guy. So a couple years ago, he came up with this concept of sort of blending together Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, meditation into one concept. And he created a product called the Intrinity Table, and it's basically a slant board. Yeah. But you have to check out the video online. But he's combined it, so he uses gravity to help you get into these positions. So the typical yoga stretch, just sitting up and just doing your basic stretches for some of us, especially some guys, pretty tight. But because you're on an angled board, you have gravity working in your favor. And then it has some straps like the TRX sort of where you can actually use the straps to help stretch and strengthen and so forth. But you got to check that out. I really like that. In fact, I'm considering when I get back into this yoga is to buy one of the tables for my home gym. And that way I can ease back into it without hurting my shoulder again.
Well, we all do crazy, dumb things sometimes because someone else is doing it. It happens to all of us all the time. All right. Sure. So final fun question: peanut butter or almond butter?
Almond butter.
Almond butter.
Yeah.
All right.
I've always hated peanut butter. Isn't that weird? I mean, almond butter I love when I first came out. And then I become is it Justin's almond butter? You probably haven't heard that brand, right? Yeah. I love almond butter, especially the maple almond butter. Yeah. Almond butter, Ezekiel toast, and sliced bananas. You got to try that for a quick carb pre-workout breakfast.
You're not alone on that. I actually prefer almond butter over peanut butter myself. But that's because I grew up I didn't like peanut butter as a kid, so I don't know what it was, but now I love almond butter. All right. So speaking of your workout, my favorite question to ask, you just mentioned, carbing up on that or doing your yoga that you had done. What song is on your workout mix that you would shamefully admit to others you listen to?
That's a funny question. To be honest, I work out in silence. All right. I hardly ever use music, but I would say, something like The Who Are You, one of those songs back in the day. And it's more of brings me back to my youth, Who, Zeppelin, Stones back in the day. So any of that mix, I don't really have one song that I could say I'm shamefully embarrassed to admit to. But, I taught aerobics, believe it or not, for 11 years, dance aerobic classes when I worked for that Jack LaLanne facility and then opened up my own club. And I remember the one song, because when I saw that question, is Jump.
Van Halen?
Van Halen, right? And that song was part of my class routine. And anytime that song came on, it motivated everybody. So every time I hear that, it brings flashbacks from those days of teaching.
I think that's one of my problems with music nowadays. We don't have any more songs about jumps. Like you had Jump by Van Halen, you had Jump Around like in the 90s, you had Jump by Criss Cross. Like there were so many like songs about jumping, and like jumping is such a fun activity to do. And then now we don't have any of that in music. I'm like, guys, we need more songs on jumps.
My daughter's 20, and I love the fact that they love our songs. Well, our songs. You're not 20, but you're not my age for sure. How old are you anyway?
I just turned 30 last year. But I grew up on classic rock. There is nothing that you put on The Who, Led Zeppelin. My dad was a Southern rock, huge Southern rock fan. So I'm all about classic rock. I think it's still the best. I think the 70s and the 90s just because I grew up in the 90s, are like the two best decades for music. The 80s had some good stuff, and there was some good stuff in the 80s, but you can't beat what came out in the 70s.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything. The lyrics, the mindset, the attitudes. I mean, maybe a little crazy in the drugs, but the Steve Jobs came out of it, so
true.
Not terrible, right?
True. Yeah, true.
So some great innovators came out of those years for sure.
Yeah. So speaking of stealth, and the product, can you tell people a little bit more about where they can go on Kickstarter, what the production is going to look like, when people can get it, and what, if you guys even have a price point or anything like that yet, like what people can expect in the future with this amazing device?
Yeah, anyone can go to Kickstarter right now and just search the word stealth or stealth fitness, and the campaign will come up. I believe we have 2 days left. So if you want to still get in and save some money, depending on when they listen to this, now's the time. But however, it's going to move over to Indiegogo next week. So it'll be an Indiegogo for probably 30 to 60 days while we go into manufacturing. Okay. So you can still pre-order it. You'll still be able to save money. Our retail, MSRP right now is $299. So it'll still be at least, in that $180, $190 price point for the next 30 days to 60 days, because we want people to still get a great value, get in early. So that's where they'll be able to do it. Now, delivery, we're looking at sometime in April, May, that, the product should be fully in production and be shipping it out to everyone, as well as downloading the app. The app may happen sooner, so people can actually download it and, start to see what this cool little app is. I mean, you could play it in your hand, like a regular mobile game app.
Right.
But, the challenge begins when all of a sudden it's about your core muscles making all the movements,
Yeah.
That's what's cool about it, turning your core into a joystick. That's been our sort of little tagline that's resonated with the gamers out there.
Core into a joystick. I like it because your core is sort of meant to sort of move, rotationally, extension, anti-extension, sort of in that same motion as a joystick. I like that.
So it's that's resonated big. I think that's why we're so successful at Kickstarter. Turn your core into a joystick. Playing games while you get a six pack.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. They can do it there, and then eventually the URL to our website, right, will be Stealth Body Fitness, Stealth Fitness. That'll direct you back to the site. The site's not up yet because right now we're just sending everyone to the campaign.
Right.
And then it'll be, like I said, Indiegogo, and then we'll have our own website. And then when the product's out, you'll see a lot more podcasts, PR from we have a lot of people that want to do product review on this thing, but we don't have samples to send out yet. $4,000 a pop to machine these. It's not.
Of course, right? Yeah.
It's not something you toss around.
No, of course not.
But we've got some great feedback.
And I like the video gets me pumped. I love what it does. Like I said, planks are one of my favorite things to give my clients, and all the progressions you can make with them. Planks and pallet presses, the 2 Ps, as I like to call them, are my favorite core exercises. So now that you sort of last question before we wrap up, have you had any ideas while working on this about where you see fitness going, or have you had anything pop up that's sort of sitting in the back of your mind for fitness with technology? We spoke a little bit beforehand, before I started, about virtual reality and where possibly things could go with that. I have ideas in my head, but again, they're just ideas. Really just basically nerd-tastic gamer dreams of like putting on a VR set and fighting Bowser. But have you had any ideas, or where do you see fitness going with technology in the future?
Well, I think it's already happening, right, with wearables, where people are able to track and get feedback.
Right.
But I think the next step is what you're talking about, this whole idea of, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, where you can distract yourself from doing the painful or discomfort part of exercise and get results. And the whole concept behind stealth is what I said earlier about sneaking fitness in under the radar of your your desire not to work out, right? We're all lazy at times. It's just a thing we don't want to do. But, back in the day before cars and computers, people had to get up and go find food. They had to move, right? They had to move and they had to work. So their fitness level was happening just for the sheer fact of living. Because of technology, we've taken that part away. And what we see is an enormous, amount of people that are so out of shape. So the stealth model is to sneak fitness in at work, at home, in these short little bouts. And we have a few other projects and products lined up, which you'll see coming out within the next year, that fit the model. Using your smartphone, using a simple device, but making it fun and interactive. I want people to feel like, one game idea that one of the gamers came to us was, this is just like boogie boarding. You could be on the stealth and flying over a wave, Yeah. So how much fun is that, right? You're boogie boarding on the beach, but here you are racing people on a boogie board, and that may fit your whole idea of this virtual reality. You have goggles on, you turn right and left, you see people on the peak of the wave, and you're racing in, but your core's on fire, and you don't realize it till the game's over. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun in this concept where, you can use virtual reality and use gamification. But I like to tie it to the smartphone, because like right now, what are we on? We're on a computer, laptop, or we're on our phone. Yeah. And that's where most of the world is. So if we can give them an opportunity to sneak in something that's going to benefit their health while they're in front of their computer, next to their office, take a break, right? They're always saying take screen breaks, and that's where we see this stealth. 3 minutes or less, you can do wonders for your entire core musculature. And I'm doing planks now. Just get up in the morning, do a quick plank, and it fires up your whole your posture. It wakes you up a little bit, gets your heart beating a tad. It's not a cardio workout, but it's definitely engagement of the major muscles you're going to need all day just to function. Yeah. So you might as well wake them up. They've been laying down right all night resting. Let's fire them up and get moving. So anyway, that's how I see. I see 100% that the world of virtual reality is going to merge heavily with fitness, and you're going to be able to get some really cool workouts right at work, so that at the end of the day you won't feel guilty that you didn't go do your lunchtime walk or your 30-minute run after work or head to the gym because you didn't have time.
Yeah. I love that. There are like I said, I have so many ideas in my head where like things could go with virtual reality. I really wish I understood programming, because if I did, I'd be programming it. But I don't. So I don't know. Upwork. Go online. Yeah. There you go. Go online. See what I can find.
And you'll find people who can do it.
So Don, if people want to know more about the project, obviously now when this goes up, I'll link over to Indiegogo because it'll go up after the Kickstarter has ended. But I want to make sure I'll have the video as well in the show notes. But if people want to know more about you, about the products, and what you guys are working on, and how to get Stealth and support it, where can they go for that?
Well, as you just said, they can obviously go to Indiegogo and still order it for the next 60 days. After that, the website will be stealthbodyfitness.com. That will bring you directly to the site. To reach me, I have a website. I just threw a page up called inventwow.com, which again I'm always helping and coaching and working on ways to help entrepreneurs, fitness people a lot as well. Take their ideas, turn them into products that can actually make a difference. So that's where you can directly reach me. I'll be doing some really cool stuff in the new year. So inventwow.com or stealthbodyfitness.com for the product. But again, my site, I'll have links back to all the products that I've ever done anyway.
Awesome.
So that's it.
Do you have a social media account for all this as well, so people can get updates and sort of?
Yeah, it's Game Your Core right now. Game Your Core is our Facebook and I believe it's the main URL. I'm not a big Facebook, Twitter, Instagram person yet, but that's another thing I put on my list for the New Year's. I want to get involved in at least one of them on a regular basis, as far as Facebook, because Facebook to me is a great marketing channel. I've learned so much with this crowdfunding campaign about how powerful Facebook is. So, so definitely
I will have links.
Game Your Core. You can get to our Facebook account.
Game Your Core. I'll have links for all that as well in the show notes. You can get that sidequestfitness.com/podcast. Scroll down till you find the Stealth episode with Don, and then you click on that and you'll get all the links. You can check out the video for the Stealth Core Trainer, which is really, really cool. And like I said, totally I was like, yes, I want this. I want to play this. I want to do this. I love gamification, and you guys know that. So I'm really excited for what Don and them have created. And I'm excited to see what comes in the future, because you've already invented amazing fitness products throughout the years. So I'm sure with the gamification and as technology goes, your brain is just going to go other places and create some really, really cool stuff.
That's scary, but thank you.
All right. Well, Don, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment, and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records, and with the help of the guest, you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.